So I do a run through on the iQMS362. Again, this is the way you're going to get it delivered to your job site or to your shop. It is fairly heavy, so you are going to need a machine to unload it off of your truck, delivery truck. But as you open it up, extremely impressive, the packing. You got your instruction sheet here, right on top, owner's manual instruction sheet. You got your blade right on top. I'm just going to set through these things aside before we get started. So now once you got the base all opened up and unpackaged, couple crucial points. You're going to take this out here. And again, that wrench just fits right on here. You got to take it out of both sides. The instructions are written right on here. What you want to do is line up this hole with this V. And like I said, I have to reinstall that at the right height. And the way you're going to do that is just to slide it back, the unit back. These here, these two metal tabs, you're going to lock these down in. So just bend that out, slide it in the hole, bend this out, and slide that in the hole. I'm going to cut that then afterwards. So once this V is lined up with your center hole, it should allow you to line these screws up here. And those again are going to go right down through here. Again, they give you these nice washers that are bent to go right on the frame. I'm going to do that on both sides. And we're going to install the wheels next. So again, they give you these nice bolts, nylon lock nuts. You're going to need a 19 millimeter. You could also use a 3/4. They're pretty close to the same. And then we're just going to install the wheels. Do that. A nylon nut on the end. They're built, you can tighten them right up. They'll still spin. You're good there. That's your wheels again. The next step that I'm going to do, I'm going to raise the table. Again, the table, you're going to take this, you're going to squeeze it. It kind of goes off on a little bit of a skewed angle. That's the way the design is. And then I can pick up on this. That's going to lock right up top then, and that's going to latch right in. So again, so the power unit, going to hold this hose out of the way. What you're going to do is line up these center tabs, center tab there. It'll automatically stay there. Make sure it's on all the way before you go leaving it. That'll lock right on there. Then we're going to put in our 4 bolts here. Again, that wrench that they give you, that's what that's for. With the washers, they give you the bolts here. Just going to sit to the side with a locking washer. Hardest part right here, getting these back bolts in, which is a real challenge because it's in such a tight spot. So one little thing that they maybe could do a little better with, but again, it's not something you're taking apart continuously. And so maybe while we're just talking here, you'll see right here, IQ Power Tools, it's in a nice protected spot. This is your serial number. Those are the numbers that you'll need to know for your saw. I've had a lot of people asking where the serial numbers are, and this is a good time to point this out. So right here on the inside flange of this arm is where you're going to find the numbers for your saw. To store the wrench, you're just going to go right in here, which works really neat. So whenever you need that, and this is going to be to change out your blade, anything you got to do on the saw, you just use that little wrench. While we're on the back side here, I just want to show you a couple things that can sometimes get forgotten. Some guys will cut and they say, oh, I'm getting dust everywhere. Make sure you hook up your hoses. This one goes right up and around here. And on the other side, this one here is easy to forget also. This one comes right up underneath. Just take a minute to get the camera in here, but that just locks right onto here. And while I'm in this section also, another crucial thing to remember, make sure you hook up your power here. So once I've plugged in my plug here, I just want to make sure they give you a little spot here. You can lock this cable up in there just to keep it a little bit more compact and uptight there so you're not catching it. So one more little tip that I'm going to tell you here. If you're having a problem with pulling too much power from one outlet, you can plug this into one outlet, you can go from another outlet elsewhere on a home, and you can plug in this section for the vacuum pump and the motor. So you got two different, your power source for your motor, this is to run your vacuum. So while we're talking about power, again, when you're running, you want to run a short cord obviously to this machine. That's where you're going to lose a lot of your power. A 12 gauge, you can do 25 feet. If you go to a 10 gauge, you can go up to 50 feet. And that's really the max. You don't want to go more than 50 feet plugging in this saw. The plug comes with it, and this is obviously so you can run it off your 110 outlet. In regards to electrical, you need 106 volts to make the saw run, and it's 1.5 horsepower motor. So if you ever see an excessive amount of sparking in here, or you start smelling a real hot electrical smell, again, the brushes are very simple. You can just unscrew here and here. You take your brushes out, and then you can get new ones and just replace it. So next I'm going to install my handle. Keep in mind your lock is here. You're going to pull that lock out so you can get it in there. Just has to go nice and consistent. And again, these two screws, I'm going to go right up through the bottom. This is so that they don't pull out. Tighten these up. This is for wheeling it around your job site. And that'll lock in, out. Now push it in, you push up on this button here, pull down on the button I should say, and push it back in. This is the extension for the rolling table. Two holes on the side there. I'm just going to slide this in. They give you two little bolts, screws I should say probably. And those you're just going to install in here. That's to keep it again from falling out. So why I got the table upside down? People ask about maintenance or if something starts hanging up. These are all designed to be closed and not lubricated. You don't need to lubricate these. However, you will sometimes get buildup. If you're running it in damp weather, you start getting a little buildup of concrete. What they recommend is just use something that's going to quickly dry, like a rubbing alcohol, anything like that. You don't want to use like a WD-40 or anything that has any lubricant or oils in it, because the oil is just going to stick to this. You're going to get the dust in there, and it's going to just lock it right up. So that is a very important step to keeping your saw healthy and keeping it flowing nice, because you want this to travel real freely. You don't want to have it catch and hang up. And so if you're having a problem with it hanging up, this is the first thing I would do. I get a nice rag on there and make sure you clean all these wheels really, really good. So just one more thing I'll just point out. Again, guys have tried adjusting these. They start binding up maybe a little bit and they think it's an adjustment issue. These are already pre-adjusted. You should not have to ever adjust these. The main thing is, like I said, just making sure these wheels are kept clean. So when you have the table, the V part of the nose is going to go up first, and you can watch this wheel. It's going to go right on top of that glide. Same on the other side. You want to make sure that this tab here is down. It says to remove table, make sure this is down, otherwise you won't get the table on. So again, just right on there. That rides right in there really smooth. And once your table's on, you're just going to flip that tab up. What that's going to do is that's going to keep this from falling off. So next would be installing the blade. Again, that handy little tool there. Lock it right in. Open these up. Those are set up so that they don't fall out, which makes it really nice. So the arrow is on here. It's directional. Obviously, it's going to spin this way. Right on the side of the flange here, there's a little arrow here. And you're always going to put their logo out anyway. So that that's going to go on that way. You take the flange off of here. The blade's classified. It says a 16.5-inch blade. So it's basically 16 3/4 almost when it's brand new. But it's set up in such a way with their proprietary cue on this thing that's going to interlock in here. But again, you have to get the right size and right shaped blade so that it kicks your dust down into this flange. If you start running different blades on this, you will ruin the saw. So you're going to tuck it behind here. It locks right into this cue, just like that. You're going to make sure it's nice and tight. Put your flange on here again. And tighten that up. So right here is your lock. So that's going to lock your blade, so when you're tightening this down, you can get that locked right in there. And you want to cinch this down pretty tight. You don't want to have any issues. Make sure that comes out again. Make sure it's unlocked so when you go to start it, that it's not bound up there. Your saw is basically built. The only thing you'll do is when you fire this saw up then, you know, make sure the blade's spinning nice and true, but you'll make the first cut down through this plastic flange, and that keeps it nice and tight. So when you got product on here, you're running it through, you're gonna see it hits the plastic, and that's what really gets all that dust to drop into them grooves, goes through the cylinders there, and it's gonna split your dust up from the larger particles to the fines by using the circular system in there, and it gets that dust spinning around and then drops in the proper spots. So once I've made my initial cut, it is crucial, go back in here. You can sometimes use your hand just to clean these off, but you want to get all these little plastic burrs out of here so that this doesn't tie up your dust from getting down in there. So I just kind of clean these off. Again, when it cools down, they snap off pretty easily. So just a couple more things. The sliding tray, you can tighten this up so you're not going to get it sliding back and forth. So it's very simple to tighten it up and transport. There's a lock for your table. And again, this is going to roll freely. So when you're transporting, you want to make sure it just locks into this one spot. When you want to use it again, you're just going to pull it out and drop it down. So that's all that is. And again, if you want to take the tray right off, you're going to flip that down and this will come right out. So cleaning the filter, again, after every 30 minutes of use, you're going to spin this clockwise a couple times. And what that's doing, it's got a metal flap in there and it's going against your paper cylindrical filter, and it's just going to spin around, and that metal flap is going to brush against that filter and it knocks all your larger particles off the filter down into this base. You can get a lot of life out of this. Once a year, you're going to change this. So they recommend once a year. The only thing I would recommend is not cutting wet block, or real wet block, because it will gum up this filter if you're not careful. If you have to replace your filter, again, you're just going to pop out these screws right here. That just pulls right off, the filter pulls off, put your new filter on, slide it back in, and put your screws back on. So very simple system there. It works really well. So when the lever's up, your box is locked in. Drop it down, you're going to pull that dustpan out. And again, like I said, it's going to go from your larger particles to your fines there. You just push that in, lock it up, just make sure you're locked in there on the edges, and you're ready to start cutting. When you want to transport, again, your handle comes out here. You can move it around your job site. When it comes time to drop it down, what you're going to do, use the handle here. You're going to just give it a little push. That's going to drop right down for you. Again, when you want to pick it up, you just pick that thing right up. And just make sure, again, you're locked in there. That's pretty simple.